You can deliver this episode 40 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast. By joining us for as low as $1 a month, you'll receive episodes early and gain access to our Discord server. All of our upcoming mainline episodes we up on our Patreon 40 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones patrons, including Becca Etienne, Jordan Mikowski, James Boss, Holiday Kirk, Tyler, Marcy Anime, Chance Holdup, Delaney Mill, Raina Cruz, Josiah Duncan, Joe LaFleur, Matt Cameron, Grant in the Back of My Dragula, Pablo Escobar's Hippos, Jackson Christ, Alec Felder, Matthew Taylor, Braden Hare, Drew Wharton, I Like Books, Jonathan David, Matt Kapazinski, Mark Barry, Darian Fisher, Cal 50, No Woods Refused Pimped Out Dave Matthews Event, Chris Wade, Jacqueline Kadiga, Midwest Maxwell, Kevin John, Jake Wald, Eraser Ray Baby, Rob Marino, Max, Dylan, Sandy Nemo, Waffle113, Gavin 490 Freak, and Maze Farms. To become a real one, consider supporting us for $5 a month on Patreon, or receive a bonus episode every month and get a shout out at the top of the pod. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome.
I wasn't sure if I was going to do it.
You were again. I could tell you're waiting. I was like, I knew I was waiting for you, and I was like, no, she's waiting a little too long.
You hear that, folks? You hear that? It's the sound of multiple people talking over each other at once. I think I know what's happening here.
Jackie, I'll let you proceed.
That was like when you're at a stop sign and the person that has the right of way doesn't take it, and then both people do the no you go situation. That happened right there. We haven't done one of these in a while.
It sounded like the last hour of the movie Duel, which I've been watching right before this pod because I thought we were recording at like 8 p.m. because I'm a big dummy.
Gotcha.
You got your time zones. You got your time zones off.
Listen, I'm tired. I had a long 1 out of 3 work days in the work week, so really.
All right.
Yeah, this is going to be a quick one. But Jackie, why are we here?
We're here because we were doing a podcast series called Best New Pod. We took a break for a while, but we're back to do the long-promised Cuts episodes, which are episodes where we put a poll to our Patreon Discord members, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast. You can go there if you want to join the Discord, flee the sinking ship of Twitter, join the Discord, but also you can pay at higher tiers to get access to special bonus episodes, to submit playlists of songs for us to have to talk about on this podcast. We just did one earlier this week with Marcy, where we did Weeb classic songs, and that was an emotional journey for all involved. And
yes.
But we're back with our series about the website Pitchfork.com, and it's very funny exactly when the hiatus happened. Because I'm pretty sure you hadn't written for Pitchfork until after we stopped doing Best New Pod, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think same deal for you.
Yes, which is very funny to me, I think. But so we're shills now.
We've now been paid money by Condé Nast, so it'd be very nice to Pitchfork now.
No, yeah, like you can't trust our opinion anymore. We're gonna be super, super nice and chill about their decisions of what they gave Best New Track to. No, it's been weird, but cool also to now have, especially because I'm contributing to the track section, which is the section that we're talking about now. And I literally spent like several months thinking about the Pitchfork track section, the history of it, the rating within it, talking to people who were involved in running it at the time. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, like, and now I'm observing being in it from like a first-hand example, and also seeing how different Pitchfork is now, both for better and for worse, I would say. I think I can be pretty objective about that, even though I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about current Pitchfork as it is. But yeah, this is. And then
I just want to get I get my own perspective really quick?
Go ahead.
So Jack, of course, has been contributing the track section. I wrote one album review that got immediately buried, and that's about it. But I got paid though, so hey, what can you say? I will not speak any more on that. Also, I've just been I've just told people, like, I just legitimately am just like right now with work too busy to pitch stuff, to Pitchfork, let alone anybody else.
No, totally.
So That's just how the cookie crumbles. Well, here we are. We're talking about some songs. We got 9 songs that our listeners have voted to the top that we are going to talk about. And I just gotta say, we us three, we did a really great job of deciding what to cut and what to curate for our podcast, because this first list, I haven't took a deep look at the 2011 and 2012 lists just yet.
They're better, but
this is fucking dire. But I think, but in general, 2010 is a pretty fucking dire year for music for the most part. Yeah. Like just because the 2000s, hadn't quite ended just yet, and the 2010s hadn't really quite like established themselves. Like, hey, this is the sound of the 2010s just yet. Mm-hmm. So it was just like a very weird transitional year. With a lot of bands and acts that some of which wanted to do some really big stuff, and others were big for a moment, then immediately became a flash in the pan and don't exist anymore or barely exist in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and especially because the songs that we're talking about today, I think for especially like the 2010 episode, but the early because there was just so much of that hangover, like we just ended talking about like the bigger, more culturally impactful songs for all of those years, because whether they were good or bad, it was like, okay, there's a discussion to be had here. Whereas like the quote unquote underground stuff from this time is so lost between eras.
I mean, there's probably stuff that probably didn't get voted on because they don't exist anywhere.
Loosies between albums that they assumed were leading to things that didn't happen. Like, we're gonna get to that immediately, but
anyways, yes.
We offered up all the songs that we had selected as possible contenders. Actually, I think it was all the songs. Period, wasn't it?
Yeah, all the songs we cut. I think maybe we left out a couple, like one or two for being canceled artists, probably, but pretty much everything we cut, we put up in the poll, and these were the top 9 that got selected.
These were the top 9, and Matty suggested potentially that our listeners think it's funny to torture us, perhaps. That maybe some people...
I don't even know if this is intentional. I don't even think they intentionally meant to torture us. It's just like these are the most recognizable names that were on that poll.
It's a little bit that, but also we're going to immediately get into the sequencing of this playlist in particular is like designed for time prison.
Yeah,
I mean, putting
the first half,
putting
especially
the worst song right in the direct middle is just an attack on me. Just. I'm like halfway through, my spirits are already crushed by some just complete nonsense garbage, and then you put that in the middle, I'm just like, God damn.
Here's the thing.
However, it does pick back up immediately after that.
Yeah, Sufjan Stevens has a song on here, and it is the second shortest song that we are talking about. That's the level of brutality we are dealing with. He can go short, but this again in this era for Sufjan, he went really long. There's a lot of long ones that could have been selected. So, but nevertheless, let's just get into it. Rose, what is our first song of the evening?
Oh, Portishead, Chase the Tear. I don't get this one. I'm gonna be honest. I hate the synth right off the bat. Just
here's the thing: is I'm close to getting it, but the fundamental problem with this song that the track review itself admits at the end is that this song works as part of an album or as the mysterious lead single to an out. Like, it has to be followed by something else for it to work as like a statement piece. As a standalone track, it just doesn't quite work. It's really close, and I like the synths for the most part. I just think it builds to nowhere, and it's like if this was like the first song on the record and then the second song like dropped into something more immediate like right after it, I'd be like, that's cool. But as a standalone track, like I don't think it quite works. They're trying to do like Fever Ray by way of Can, basically, is the vibe.
I'm just deeply insulted that this track review is invoking Stereolab. Stereolab would never make a song guitar tones this bad. Like, even if there are any.
There aren't any, and I think that's maybe the I mean...
just the tones are so bad. That's what I don't like about this.
You know what this song immediately reminded me of? And it's probably just because I was listening to it today, but, this sounds like Grimes' Oblivion sped up really fast.
Yeah,
that's
I
just,
see.
that's just
I
every
hear
song that does arpeggiation is like a big hook idea. It's just, you're
But
just like, this is...
this, I get what you mean. I do think it is pretty. I like listening to it now. I'm enjoying it a little more than I was earlier. But like, I still get why it's just like, oh, I'm waiting for it to. I don't know. I like the vibe that it's getting. I just don't think it quite gets there as a song. You don't like the vibe, and it doesn't quite get there as a song. So. I love Beth Gibbons.
For me personally, I don't like the song, but I well, actually, hang on. Well, the opposite of what Jackie said. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. That's the joke I'm trying to make. This playlist has got me jumbled. Already, my brain is jumbled. This is, again, I like Portishead, but this is very clearly like a nothing song. Like, it just seems like, okay, probably should have left this one on the cutting room floor, guys. And especially just sucks because we've not really gotten like any new Portishead material since this song, pretty much.
That's exactly the problem. Is it's not even just that like there wasn't an album that centered around this that followed it up, but like that we just haven't gotten anything after this. It doesn't leave you with a good taste in your mouth. Yeah,
Portishead and general are one of the like stranger indie legacy acts, and that like, like Dummy is considered a classic record, and 30 is really good, and the one in 97 is considered to be pretty good also. But it's a band that like hasn't put out a lot of stuff in a very long time, doesn't seem to have any plans to put out any new material anytime soon, and like it just seems like there's certain acts like a Fiona Apple where it's like, okay, like, well, we know because they're their process is long and they're taking their time. It's still not really clear like what is Portishead's deal? Like, why do they take so long between records?
That's totally fair.
Like, it's this case where it's like, with like a Fiona, it's like, okay, I get why they take so long, but like most of the members of Portishead are pretty prolific on their own. Jeff Barrow is obviously an extremely prolific musician at this point, from just his own solo work, soundtracks, producing for other people. I don't know the other guy. I think Beth Gibbons is like not as prolific, but like she does stuff every now and then. Every couple of years there'll be a project she does. Mm-hmm. So it's just very strange. Like, okay, like why is this taking, like, if it's like, hey, we just don't want anything more as a band, that's fine, but it's just they're one of the weirder like legacy acts in indie for some reason to me. I can't point my finger as to why they're so weird, but I guess it's a mixture of just like the slowed output, obviously very foundational when it comes to trip hop, one of the foundational acts in that genre, and I don't know, I'm rambling. I'm just trying to figure out things to say because I don't have anything to say about the song in general. It's just like, oh, okay, it's just like a random.
I think what this is as a best in track choice is it's a Pitchfork doubling down on we like this band, we think this band is important, and then we think that their current music continues to be relevant because they were just coming off of Third, which is a great album that they really liked. Mm-hmm. And so, right, like you got this band that you've started to like after you're right that they have sort of this really big moment in the 90s, and then they have the 97 album, and then they kind of fade from pop cultural consciousness and from releasing music for a while. And so Third was like a big comeback album, not quite as long as like the Slow Dive comeback album, but it was a similar sort of thing where it's like, all right, this band is back, they're making good, important music again that's different than the old stuff too. Was the crucial thing, is it wasn't a rehash of the original Portishead sound at all, and it was something kind of harsher and more electronic, and this is taking that in a further direction that I think that this is just the classic thing that is easier for like a music writer to talk themselves into as an interesting new step than it is something actually good to listen to 10 years later, now that we know it wasn't actually leading to anything. You know what I mean? It's like, mm-hmm. You're giving them the benefit of the doubt of saying like, all right, I like this, I'm gonna wait to see how it fits into the bigger piece because it's very mysterious, and it is effective at being sort of whatever, like effusive in that way, but it can just sort of feel like the way that the new Dry Cleaning album feels at times, where it feels like the album is negging you, and it's just like, I don't need this, Mm-hmm. I can go do something else with my time.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's nothing in this review that's really too crazy besides what we've already said. Just like, seems like it's setting up something. Nothing really was set up from this, like it was one of the first, best new tracks of 2010, just seems like they had a Lucy sitting around. This is released by Amnesty International, so it might have been a charity single, probably.
That's weird. I didn't even see that. That's funny.
it's mostly a charity single, so it's like, okay, whatever, you know.
It's just an
Again,
idea they
Portishead.
had, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, here's the thing, like, obviously, like, even despite what I'm saying, it's like, yeah, I would love new music from Portishead. They're a band I was, like, one of the first bands that I got into when I was getting into indie music in the early 2010s, and so it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm always up for new material by them. Who fucking knows if it's going to happen? The last thing they did was, like, donate a concert, or they did a performance to support Ukraine earlier in the summer. That's really about it. And also they're in the news because I guess they are like SoundCloud introduced a new royalty plan, and then Portishead's like, yeah, we made like 500% more money from this than anybody else. So, like, okay,
That's interesting.
I don't know. So yeah, not much is going on.
Important recent Portishead update for me was just that, like, yesterday, Pitchfork, promoting one of their 90s lists, posted a really cool picture of Beth Gibbons singing with a lit cigarette, like, in between her fingers that were grasped around the microphone, and wearing a long sleeve t-shirt. And I just want to say, cool. And also,
Chicks rock.
And also, I would like to shout out lead singer of Shut Up's Hadley has I don't know if I actually meant to ask him whether it was like homemade or whether it was actual Portishead merch, but he has a jacket that has a big, like, rectangular Portishead patch on the back of it that is sick. It's one of the coolest jackets I've ever seen someone wear. I'm obsessed with it. Portishead are a really good band. Dummy, one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on then. Let's move on to our next song. Rose, what is song numero dos?
Oh, another long one. Jesus Christ. This one's even longer.
It's the knife.
I am like mentally trapped in time prison right now.
This is the one that fucks up everything else around it. Like the fact that all of the longest songs in the playlist are grouped together is one bad thing enough, but the fact that this one is placed exactly where it is, it just causes a brain poison ripple effect that cannot be overstated if you actually listen to this playlist, like, from start to finish, listening to every song. Like, it does a disservice to, I think, the next song especially, and we'll get into that. But yeah, this just is.
It's the knives coloring the pigeons that didn't come through clearly. It is a song, according to the review, Coloring of Pigeons from the track review, the first track to be released from an opera created by The Knife in collaboration with Mr. Sims, Planning to Rock, and the Danish performance art group Hotel Pro Forma. It is a towering, ominous epic that spans several epochs over the course of its 11 minutes. All right.
I could say a lot of things about the song. I probably will. I just need to say that recently, Joshua Min-soo Kim, the writer for Tone Glow and Pitchfork, etc., said people don't know how to talk about bad experimental music in criticism. And I just thought that was an interesting thing and a correct thing to say. Is that there tends to be a lot of writing that is like, either you don't like experimentation music at all, or you're like, all experimentation is good, and the weirder something is, but like, don't know how to judge effectively whether something is using experimentation in a pointed and creative way to achieve some sort of means to an end, or whether it is just a lady going hee 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 ha ha ha, and like presenting it with as much like seriousness as possible as to sell it as important. And I think the crucial part of me reading this track review, which I didn't realize, is that Planning to Rock is involved in this, and I don't think Planning to Rock is a great musician. Is all I will say about that. Personally,
Planning to Rock is a planetary radio client. No comment. No comment on Planning to Rock. Nothing that I can say on the record, at least. If you get me in the Discord, I'll probably explain. If you want to pay $1 to get in the Discord, I'll probably explain why I cannot comment on this. But I can comment on the song itself, which fucking sucks. Opera music. I think opera music, I guess this is something I've always kind of known, but I just don't really think about or talk about. I think opera music just fucking sucks. Like, I just think most opera
I'm gonna be honest. I saw a really good opera a while ago. You gotta check out that Philip Glass Akhenaten. That's the real business there.
I guess the case is just like I've never heard a good opera, or like it's just not a genre of music where it's like I don't really get this. I don't
like
really
a lot of stuff that's like the I like Bjork. I really like Lingua Ignota and that Dear Laika album. Like stuff that can
see the problem with this is like it doesn't sound like opera music to me. It sounds like the in between hell point of like Sims and Animal Crossing music. Just really boggles my brain why anyone would make this.
My thing about this song is that this part right here is actually good, but there's like a 2-minute stretch from like minute 3 to 5 that's like actually good, and then the rest of the song ruins whatever enjoyment I have. Like it's one tiny sliver of a good idea sandwiched by like a full 11 minutes of bad idea and just like self-indulgent exploring the space with no objective achieved or purpose in mind, and like just I do not think the song works at all. And I in general am not the biggest the Knife person, but there's lots of Knife songs that are way more fucking interesting than this.
I mean we'll probably get to a number of them when we get to the 2013.
True.
Because that 2013 record's fucking great. Like it's a great record full of I think like 2 of the songs on there got Best New Track. We'll probably definitely be talking about at least one of them. Fucking great songs. This is just like not a good use of
I know how to
anyone's
improve this one
skills here.
200%. Just add like 2 seconds to the start. Here's what you gotta do. Just add a little tag at the front and it just says the most unwanted song.
Like I think in general, like there does seem to be a trend of these sort of like electronic musicians that are sort of on the fringes of experimental that think that they get this idea in their head, like, oh, I'm going to do an opera. Like Dean Blunt has an opera that I've never listened to, nor do I want to listen to it.
Doing operas out here other than Dean Blunt.
There's gotta be some, but that's the only one I can think of. Is someone who operates in a very similar space to the Knife that also like occasionally indulges in their very like dumb experimental ideas like this, where it's like, I don't need this. And the end of the review is just, it's fucking hilarious. Coloring of Pigeons is a fiercely original and outrageously ambitious song, but is nonetheless only a detail of a much grander work to come in February. These days, we are inundated with free MP3s heralding new full-length releases, and even in the best cases, the reaction is usually along the lines of, oh, neat, I'll have to check that out. Oh, brother, it's going to get way worse from here on out with that shit. But anyways, this track, however, inspires feverish speculation and sky-high expectations. What must the rest of Tomorrow in a Year be like? And is there a possibility that Coloring of Pigeons is not even the best song on it? Let's see what they gave this.
I want to see if they review exactly the shit that my editor Kat Zhang is really good at getting me to cut, which is like, even if you really love a song, that last sentence only is helpful if you're writing PR. If you're writing a review, you shouldn't be like buying into the hype cycle. You need to be engaging with the fucking work. You have to be engaging with the thing in front of you. And like, I think that kind of writing is a failure to do that effectively.
And then they gave it a 6.9.
Nice.
They gave it a 6. So it's like, all right.
Isn't it opera about Charles Darwin? God, fuck this band sometimes.
Fucking Sweden. We gotta get rid of Sweden. If I remember, they're Swedish, right?
Oh, but there's some good. I mean, the Smurs album from last year is a great example of like what good can come out of these countries where they have this insane fucking arts education, and so you have all these like pop artists that have these like crazy musical backgrounds of either professional or experimental or classical backgrounds of various kinds. Oh, no. Sorry. Smurs are Norwegian. Never mind. Excuse me for complaining.
All right. Sweden is canceled once again.
Sweden is canceled.
All right. I'm ending it. We're done. I don't want to talk about the song anymore. The song sucks. It's too fucking long.
The problem is that for every Bjork that is doing this kind of stuff in a good way, we let across a couple of Europeans that are just really going wild with the bullshit.
This is a song that definitely got voted in on name recognition only, and it's like, I get it, because here's the thing. When I voted for the cuts, I definitely also voted by name recognition only. Like, there's a chance that I probably voted for this song, but god damn it, I wish I knew. I wish I knew that this song did not want me. And we're gonna move on to our next song, which is Rose.
Oh God!
All right, Rose.
Broken social scene, world sick, really bad. The first half of this playlist is like just specifically designed to piss me off.
Yeah, there are. It's always funny because, of course, whenever you get into indie music, especially on the lens of indie heads, there's a lot of records that people are like, you gotta check out this record. This record's an essential album. And Broken Social Scene is just one of those bands that, like, I've tried them and it just doesn't fucking work for me.
I mean, there's just so many better Canadian bands from around that time. Like, they're getting curve stomped by, like, the Unicorns. If you're getting curve stomped by the Unicorns, you're probably doing your whole shit wrong.
I am a very casual Broken Social Scene fan. I would say I like most of what I've heard, but I have never quite been sucked in enough to be like, I need to do the deep dive and listen to all the albums and like really get immersed in it. I knew this song and liked this song and almost certainly voted for this. I think this song gets done so dirty by the fucking sequencing of this playlist.
Yeah.
Because it is a intro song that has a build that I don't quite love the first 30 seconds of, and then slowly but like the first time I listened to it in this playlist, I was like, wow, that is not as good. That is not as graceful of a start to this song as I remembered, but it's only because it's like the third like exactly after the 11 minutes of fucking The Knife, having a song that takes its while to build its way up to its anthemic chorus is like suffering, because you're just like, Jesus Christ, give me some immediate gratification. I just did 11 minutes of that The Knife shit. Like my ADHD brain was suffering listening to this whole playlist, like in a row. And I think that this is a very good song that I still like, and when I listen to as a standalone song, I really like it. I think this is combining the best of like what anthemic Arcade Fire and like what future bands like Young Jesus are doing. Like, this is very technically accomplished while also very like shout to the rafters anthemic indie rock that immediately, I will admit, this is kind of the blueprint for a lot of bad car commercial stuff that sounds like this but worse.
Yes.
Who does he sound like vocally on this song specifically? Because it's been driving me crazy. Like this.
Which guy?
What guy does he sound like? That's what I'm wondering.
Sounds like Wolf Parade guy to me. Maybe I'm just.
I'm more thinking.
I guess I kind of hear it.
I don't know.
I do like an actual like. It's not. He sounds a little like not quite Cage the Elephant guy. That's I'm just trying to give
it's not Lumineers, not Lumineers, but like almost Hosier-ish. You know what I mean? Like that kind of like
minus Sons.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. It's a little Mumford and Sonsy. Actually, is a great way. Like this is how like the era of similar to like pop music in a very weird, different, but also kind of timeline similar way. There was a maximalism to late 2000s indie that happens after records like Funeral that are twee and also anthemic at like the same time, that are like very big and bombastic, and like we are trying to reach for the rafters of like a gang vocals, really loud rock music chorus that is like meant for
America. The reason why become a thing for a little bit there.
Like the reason why rock critics invented the word soaring was for shit like this, but like immediately that curdles into stomp clap folk pop music. You know what I mean? Like immediately it just becomes nothing but sentimental, overproduced gloop.
Look what happens when you let Los Campesinos become like a thing. That's the most worrying case of it.
I liked them at the time, but we can't get into that.
This song really just reassures, like, yeah, man, I just lucked out that I just never had like a taste for this kind of fucking music. Like between this, obviously Arcade Fire, which that's a whole other conversation.
The AJ Moser gene is what you're saying.
Exactly. I don't have the AJ Moser gene, and I feel like it's paying off pretty well, except for the fact that the most critically acclaimed album of the year is one of the most AJ Moser-ass brain things that I've heard in a long ass time.
That's exactly. I mean, I was gonna bring it up too, even though we're so. But I mean, it's it's one of the biggest albums of the year, and I feel like people who don't like it, it's just a classic modern thing of like, you're not allowed to talk about this if you don't like it. It's like, well, if you're gonna shove it down our throats, we're gonna talk about how For Ants From Up There is a bad album.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk like 2010,
folks,
I think the problem with this song I have is that there's just so much better big anthemic stuff made this year.
I
you know,
agree
2010. You know what other record comes out this year? It's a big indie label release. It's got a lot of guys in the band. It's got some very well-vaunted songs people still talk about today. I'm talking, of course, about The Monitor. Very important record.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you listen to Broken Social Scene in the year when The Monitor released?
I know we're officially back, because the entire time you were saying that, I was doing the math of, is this a everybody on my dick like they supposed to be joke? Like I was saying, like, did that come out in 2010?
What year was that? I need to check.
I don't.
That was 2012.
I don't.
I think that was 2013.
Exactly. So I didn't think it was 2010, but I knew that I was back and doing a Best New Podcast episode, because I was like, wait a second, what year did that song come out in? Is she setting it up right now? I was trying to brace myself for everybody on my dick like they supposed to be.
I mean, is Mike G also in Broken Social Scene as well as Odd Future? I haven't checked.
I don't believe that there is any overlap between Broken Social Scene and Odd Future, as far as I know. But I still like this. I'm not like crazy about it, and I think it definitely is not great in the sequencing of this playlist. But I do like it still, and just compared to the last two songs, I'm like, this song works as a song at least. Like once it builds into its central thing, like I'm like, okay. My bar is a little lower after those last two songs. Finally, you've given me the release after the too long of a build up, and I did like this song at the time, and still kind of do. Like, I mean, they've always.
Which I just want to say, Jackie, it's very the final lines of this review are very funny considering your comments, because let's see, but what differentiates World Sick from previous BSS epics is its ending. Just when it feels like the horns are about to blow in and the pedals should be pushed into overdrive, the song dips out in its last 2 minutes. It's giving you time to consider instead of just ramming through your brainstem full bore. No forgiveness necessary. Well, it's like, no, I want this to ram in my brain full stem. Ryan Domble, I want it in my brain stem right away.
I do get what they mean by that, though, which is that
obviously, just like, I mean, in context it makes sense, but just like in the context of this playlist, it's like, no, I want something that pours through my brain. Ryan,
I was just gonna say that, like, that's always been my impression of Broken Social Scene. I'm not someone. I similarly do not have the AJ Moser gene, where it's like I like some very specific things of that kind of music, but it's never going to be like my bread and butter, I feel like. And Broken Social Scene for me, as someone who doesn't gravitate toward this music, is like the thinking woman's Arcade Fire, essentially. It's like for people that are like, I have just a little bit more 5 minute taste, and actually the band from Canada with way too many people on stage that's good is this one. And it's a natural understanding to make when, say, you don't like Arcade Fire and you like this band that doesn't get the kind of national platform attention that Arcade Fire is getting, and you're a Pitchfork.com, like, you want to advocate for a band.
Hey, I mean, if you think about it, there's 3 tiers in the Canadian band with too many people, sort of like levels of prestige you can get. There's the top level, which is of course the Arcade Fire scale. Then there's Broken Social Scene. And then you have to be the new pornographers. You think about that. Like your peak with that is like WMFMU listeners.
I think the number one band.
Well, technically, CBC Radio 3 is the
I know, but like that feels like a very
for.
WFMU band, if you know what I mean.
I mean, absolutely, but yeah, you gotta remember, you gotta take account. You gotta take CanCon into account.
I know. I had a whole discussion with this.
I would say the number one Canadian band with way too many members in it is the current lineup iteration of Kitty. That's going to be my answer to this question. The one where they took the band picture and there's the one guy in the band who's standing next to like 8 women. It's really funny.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
No, I'm not.
Let him cook.
I'm not flaming him. I'm glad that he's there. It's just very funny that he's stanced up next to them, like all the way in the back.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on to our next song. Our next song is O.N.E by Yeasayer.
I would like to request that we watch the music video. Executive vision here, please.
Okay,
I will
watched
the music video.
Apparently, it says, I did read the track review. It says it's an insane music video. So let's. Let's find
really
out.
just had to. I knew I needed to bring it up because, dear Lord.
This one?
Yes.
Oh God. Okay. All right, a man is driving.
Why would you make
his
this?
face is. Oh God, it's like some Cronenberg shit happening to his
No,
face
don't worry.
right now.
We're past this quick.
Okay.
Also, note that this isn't
ew.
mixed with GTA music. Great sign.
Ugh.
We cannot escape the shadow of Grand Theft Auto 5 in the 2010s. It's not possible.
Nope, and it's just gonna get worse. It's just gonna get worse once we get to like the 2013. Okay, we're at a little dance party. It's kind of funky hipster
Deeply
stuff.
torturous that game is just going to be the thing that we have to follow as the ultimate cultural touch point.
Pretty much.
Because these fucking critics chose the time to canonize these things, and they were like, well, I guess that's the music we put in the game. And it's like, oh God, you're going to make these immortal. Oh my God, it's like dollar store flaming lips. It's so horrible.
I was gonna say more like it just seems like, all right, guys, we Anco are really big right now. We need a, but Anco aren't commercial
not
enough.
do anything this aesthetically safe.
No, but that's what I'm saying is that it's a very like safe, like commercialized version of Animal Collective.
This music video is giving like if The Matrix was directed by the director of the LMFAO Sexy and I Know It music video.
Oh, there's Morpheus.
No, literally, like it's trying to do a Matrix nightclub scene, and it's giving like Vivo 2010, like. Yeah, it's really bad.
It's getting off. It's giving off. We can only go for up to PG-13 for this.
This is making me like this song a lot less. I went on a journey. I
had to bring this in. I could not let anyone be on the side of the song.
I wasn't gonna be on the side of the song. I went on a fucking journey with this song. First of all, I started this song and I was like, early Tune Yards ? Was my first question.
This is not twee enough to be like Tunyo.
No, that's just the intro, and then it actually kicks into the synth stuff, and I'm like, oh, I kind of like this actually now.
Of course you do.
Because it's very much in the bag of FIFA-esque indie that I like. But like,
I would pay you money. This is on a FIFA soundtrack.
If this was a Maroon 5 song, if this was Adam singing this, you'd love it. Like this, if this was
like this.
That's what this
actually,
like.
probably not. No.
That's what this part sounds like to me. This is like, what if Adam actually followed through on the premise of Animal Collective is badass, check him out, and actually brought Panda Bear in the studio to make a Maroon 5 song? I think it would sound something like this, which is both a compliment and an insult. But I don't know. But then, like I said,
sure insulted, but not for the reasons you chose.
I didn't like the beginning of it. There's a section in the middle that I really like, and then there's a section at the end where I remember why I didn't like the last Foxing album. Like, I've seen.
It looks like in this video they're playing Cones of Dunshire, but like a neon version of it.
And then my last crucial like reaction to this music was that toward the end of my listening to this song,
Smug aura mocks me.
I was thinking about fucking Ian Cohen, and Ian Cohen brought up Yeasayer as a comparison point. I think for either the Draw Down the Moon or the new Smidley album. I think it might have been the new Smidley album, but I just like am glad that I was born in the era I was and wasn't like an active like Pitchfork core indie person in 2010. Like as we established on the previous series, I was much more of a hip hop and electronic kid at that period in time, and so the specific timing of this is such that I know some indie from 2010, but mostly like the mainstream stuff. And based on like the underground indie that we're talking about in this episode, if I had been like like 18 or 19 in 2010, I would be now doing Remember Some Guys core conversations all the time about bands like Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah, and I'd probably be a really big Deerhunter fan, and like there's just a different path my life could have gone down, and I'm kind of glad that I don't really connect with a lot of this stuff, even though it's me bait. Like I do not want to listen to this song again. Like I did not like it that much. There's only one part in the middle that really gets to me, but like they eventually get into a boring and safe enough groove that it stops being annoying, is basically how I would describe it.
What a compliment! What a compliment to the song. This song, this is just it's not good. And also, I do love that one of the suggested videos.
I really want to be done with the first half of this playlist. Like,
okay, we can move on. I don't have anything else to say if you don't.
Because right now, I'm here to do a hanging.
I've done my whole my journey. Let's roast this crikey
this crikey mate.
G'day mate
this
motherfucker.
Cunt.
It's called currents. You can pronounce a word correctly.
Our next song is Solitude is Bliss by Tame Impala. Rose, I'll let you take the floor here.
Oh my god, this man, I thought I was done with this man. You keep saying to yourself, like, I'm done with Kevin Parker, I'm never gonna get mad at this guy again, and then you hear something new and you just start getting real mad, you know? Like, I talked about it briefly on that Always episode, but like, they stole this man's lunch money just right out from under him. If Always wanted to, they could make a Tame Impala album better than anything Tame Impala has ever made, but they didn't commit to that. They committed to an Always album.
Also, Tanuki-chan, the new Tanuki-chan song that just came out, eats the fucking lunch of every single Tame Impala song for a couple of reasons. A, because, and I might talk about this potentially in a review down the road, but like, that riff sounds like it has actual grit under its fingernails, which is the crucial thing missing from like every Tame Impala album from here under. Is like there is no dirtiness to any of this stuff, even though it's trying to do this psyche retro garagey sound. And like this just embodies so many of the worst qualities I think about like Ableton rock music. Basically, is just
I mean, you think about the Wiggles being able to feasibly cover a Tame Impala song, and that really says everything I need it to.
Hey, the Wiggles, that sounds like an insult to the Wiggles.
Well, that's the thing, is their version is better because it's it embraces that this is a willingly stupid prospect.
Oh, no, totally.
The thing I hate about Kevin Parker, the thing I hate about this man is he's the sorest winner there ever was. Like, you think, like, after selling millions of records and canonizing himself in the dorm room album poster Hall of Fame with the cover of Currents, you think this man would, lavish in his victories? No, he just keeps making these stupid incel rock songs. He's just like, nobody ever likes me. It reminds me of like Drake writing these days. Like, it's
a little Drake. You know what it also is? It's like it's kind of Rivers Cuomo if Rivers Cuomo was better at hiding his weird sociopathic streak. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, like, Kevin Parker very much is not. Like, because he does it in a way where he thinks he's being cool about it instead of just like,
Yeah,
like,
Rivers Cuomo has the proper amount of self-hatred. You're right. That's absolutely the difference.
You listen to Less I Know the Better, and that is a guy who very much thinks he sounds cool writing that, but it's like one of the most pathetic songs I've ever heard.
Well, Rose, the problem with that is that it's a fundamental problem of Currents, and why I declared in the server the other day that it is the rare overrated and underrated album at the same time. And that's not to say that it's a mediocre album. It's just like it's both better than the haters give it credit for, but also like so much worse than any of the people who love it give it credit for. And I'm with you, Rose. I'm done with Kevin Parker, and also all of his.
I will only give him credit for one thing. That man knows how to produce drums. God damn it! Like, we need more guys who can produce drums, because that drives me absolutely.
That's one of a couple things.
Kevin Parker's his
he's good at.
Again, his career should have just peaked at like, oh hey, he's just like a go-to drum a go-to drum tech for musicians. If
you were like,
instead,
if you were a record producer for people just like, just like miking their drums correctly and doing that right, I would have infinite respect for him. But instead, he has had the biggest sore winner career I've ever heard. It's just like his music is always like a pity party, and meanwhile, this man's like getting headline Coachella with A$AP Rocky. I'm just like, shut up, dude. I don't want to hear any more of these. Like literally, like, you have a song called "Why Won't They Talk to Me?" Like, you should not have any victory here. You should have been relegated to the gutter.
Also, he's a guy that's like, why won't they talk to me? It's like, you're a guy that like famously does not collaborate with other musicians on your records. Like, you famously keep to
You
yourself.
made an album called Lonerism, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, come on. It's like, am I the problem here? Am I?
And that's the thing that's really like, one is that over time, as we've gotten way more Kevin Parker music, like the formula of these songs becomes a lot more obvious, and it becomes way harder to look at them with any kind of like wide-eyed mysticism or chin stroking, like taking it seriously that I maybe was able to do in like 2012 when I was listening to Lonerism stuff and like
Kevin,
a
I'm sorry
dumb
to tell
fucking
you this,
teenager.
but we all found out what a flanger effect is. Now you need to stop using
No,
that
I
shit.
could not stop thinking about the Andrew Katz fucking video because this is probably the worst.
See if I can find it.
This is the worst offender because
it's up there.
Because it's me when I got my DJ board for the first time and was just like turning up the effects super loud without any sort of like rhyme or reason of what for what purpose that is besides woo, look, you can hear. Like, it really, I really just hate the way that the groove of the song comes together on top of like me souring on Kevin Parker.
Crikey, I'm Kevin Parker, the lead singer of Tame Impala. Today's a very special day. We're in the studio working on some tracks. So today I'm going to show you guys how to make one of my most famous, unique sounds that only I do. That's why I sell so many albums. So what I've done here is I put a phaser on the master track, and what I usually do is just close my eyes and drag this around till I get the desired fucked up sound.
It's so good. It's so good.
I mean, really, just like, this man just turns up the effects like he's like a child playing with everything, and you're like,
yeah, that was something about that like just annoyed me the most. It's just like, dude, just like fucking have a consistent master track. Stop fucking with it. Like, stop fucking with the phasers and shit.
Like the worst part of it is like you can tell where he learned these habits. Like, because he's like listening to all these old psych rock records and they're using effects with intentionality, and he just thinks like, you know, like, but they do it in a way that it's like trying to create a chaotic and clouded mix, but like they're doing it with intentionality, and he just thinks, okay, I gotta make it messy. That's what I gotta do. But he doesn't realize
it's messy and clean at the same time. That's always the thing with Kevin Parker. Is it's like, why can't this hit me with more oomph? But also, why is it so kind of dingy in other ways? Like, it's just like it's very much the trying. That's what drives me crazy. Is it's not like Kevin Parker is trying to overproduce his music. He clearly idolizes so much like retro, garagey, not perfect high fidelity. But
he's also like a guy that would go
also
on
worships the hi-fi like gods of like super technical, super beautiful sound, and he's trying to marry those two things together, and he's somehow coming up with the worst qualities of both.
He's like a guy who would go on two kinds of forums. Number one, he would go on whatever rap forum of choice you want to insert here in this sentence. Number two, he's the guy who would go on a Gearhead forum to ask what console Steely Dan used to record Gaucho.
That is true.
He's a marriage of those two kinds of guys, and I don't like either of them.
And I'm sorry to bring someone else that is going to make you mad into this. Has anyone listened to the new Gorillaz song with Tame Impala on it?
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good.
I listened to it once.
I've not listened to it. You could say anything about any of their songs, and I believe you at this point. It's been literally years since I've engaged with anything they've made.
Basically, it's better funk wave bounces is what I would describe it as.
See, I don't get that reference at all.
Oh,
it's a Calvin Harris record.
I know who the guy is. I just don't know anything about what it sounds like.
I will just warn you, Rose. I actually think this is the first chance Gorillaz have it a hit in a very long time. It's not a good song, but like,
well, I won't hear it because I don't engage with. You guys thought it was a hermit back at the beginning of the 2010s, buddy. You haven't seen nothing yet. I'm retreating into a hole of 1980s movies. Woody or what's his face? Jesus, 1980s records. John Fahey records. 1980s movies and PlayStation 1 games. I'm not touching anything from this current moment. Never.
Fair enough.
Gorillas, never heard of them.
Let's move on. Let's just move on. Kevin Parker, he sucks. He's stinky. I don't like him. But we've
also wait
again. We will have more. We will have much more to say when we get to 2015.
We talked around this whole thing without bringing up the fact this song is called "Solitude is Bliss." Like this.
Oh yeah, that's it. It's like doesn't sound like it, motherfucker. Doesn't sound like it.
It's the most like teenage kind of like angst without any real direction or just like being kind of shitty in a petulant way.
I gotta say, I cannot stand that America made Australia one of the taste-making nations in psych rock right now in this current moment. Just deeply insulting to me on so many levels. You're letting King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard and Tame Impala navigate the direction of psych rock. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Also, I wonder how mad Kevin Parker was when during this track review where he says Australian 3-piece Tame Impala. I wonder how mad Kevin was. Like, no, it's just me.
I'm sure at the time they were still like a band. You know, it's like the Steely Dan situation where there were like guys in Steely Dan, and then it just went down to Fagan and Becker, and it was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I will say we do got to give Kevin Parker gets credit for exactly one thing he does in this ish era, which is the Melodies Echo Chamber album that he did, which is good. I do like Melodies Echo Chamber.
But the one that she did afterwards that he did not produce is a lot better.
Oh, hey, the only good song on the playlist. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. Our next song, Deerhunter Revival. We talked about Helicopter on one of the 2010 playlists. This one's fine.
Genuinely, like whenever this song comes in my car, I am like overjoyed. Like it's just such good like tones. Like I listen to them, just like they knew what they were doing. They had it in the bag here. 2010 Deerhunter, like geniuses. I am willing to say it. Like especially because they brought in Ben Allen, man who produced. Of course, we've been over this many times, but the man produced Merryweather Post Pavilion. The man produced Halcyon Digest. The man did mixing on Maya by MIA. And of course, he produced I Love College and Sleep in the Bread Aisle by Astor Roth. Very important.
Of course.
The man set the moment here in the early 2010s.
Yeah. It's funny. I think I remember when we talked about Helicopter. I think I want to say I said this on pod, but just to reiterate, it's like I listened to Helicopter and I was like, wow, like have I just been missing out on Deerhunter? Like, do I finally like get this band?
I think the rest of their stuff is fine, but like this record, they were on fucking god.
They always have songs. They've got songs I really like, but I think like Halcyon Digest is as like a early 2010s classic indie record. I don't agree with that. I mean, it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah,
and this song is
we litigated this
fine,
when we did the last Deerhunter song too. Yeah, and I like Helicopter more than this one. I want to be clear that when I sort of critique this song, it is still pretty clearly the best song on this playlist. Maybe one other, but I think for the most part, this is just like performs very well because of the songs it's surrounded by. However, I don't love this one really. The Deerhunter, all Deerhunter stuff leaves me like just like 15% cold, and then some of it leaves me like 25-30% cold. Like I just even when I really am like, oh, there's a lot for me to appreciate while I'm listening to this. I do like it, and as we talked about every time, like I'm sure seeing them live would help some of this click for me. It isn't just like it doesn't give me whatever that serotonin boosts, like all of the sound textures coming together way that like this kind of music is so dependent on. And because I haven't spent enough time with this music to like really tap into what the songwriting is doing, like aesthetically it's just not my cup of tea. But Rose and I, we have very different aesthetics, so I understand that. Perhaps it's just a little more garagey than I like this music to be personally.
It just reminds me of the great lineage of like really big echoey Georgia like party bands from like the late 80s, early to late 80s. Like that span, like all those guys. Fucking B-52s, Pylon.
Yeah.
Hey, those are my guys.
It reminds me of like a
Pigeons
much
too.
psychier version of that, which I really like.
I do like that it
From
has
this
that
song?
element.
Yeah, this song feels like a little bit more indebted to like
It's slower than anything that they would play, but
I do not get B-52s from this song like whatsoever.
well,
Like
it didn't
I
sound like
like
B-52s.
not just B-52s, but like the general scene of like Georgia
Maybe.
party bands. Like
I don't know. Like that
I
doesn't
they
seem like
feel
a party
very
song to
indebted.
me.
No, but it isn't a party. I get what Rose means.
It's not party band
Yeah.
music. It's just influenced by it in a way.
I
with, like,
guess.
the particular means of production they're going for.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. Not much to say. Let's move on. Next up, we've got Freddie Gibbs' national anthem. Parentheses. Fuck the world. Early Gibbs track. What's that sample? I feel like I know that sample somewhere. That sounds like is this a Clams Casino beat?
I don't think so. No, if it is a crime,
Witness in real time the development
honestly,
of an
that was-
artist as they have none of the traits you like about them.
I disagree slightly, which is just that like this is not a good Freddie Gibbs song, like definitively for a couple of reasons. But I can imagine if I was to like Men in Black like mind wipe myself and just listen to this song. I still probably wouldn't have given it Best New Track, but I definitely would have been like, okay, this is clearly a really talented rapper that might be something interesting. We've got to keep an eye on this guy. Like, I understand how it could clear that bar, just in terms of like how in the pocket Freddie Gibbs is even on his very worst music. However, at this particular moment in time, we haven't seen what really good. We're really close to Freddie Gibbs like fully unlock. Like Thuggin comes out next year, and really the difference between this and Thuggin, like the primary difference between this and even before he starts working with Madlib full time, like even this and the next Freddie Gibbs album is just production, because this beat is not good. This is a very bad beat, I would say.
I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's pretty mediocre. It's pretty mediocre. Obviously, compared to like some of the other stuff he'd be rapping on, obviously just Madlib stuff alone. But yeah,
it just has a lot of the worst qualities of this kind of music.
It's a very dated
sounding
beat. It's very dated.
Is the thing. That's the thing, is that the datedness is kind of charming when it comes in the form of this like ridiculously overproduced, like the stuff we talk about on like the stuff we talk about on fucking middle school dance episodes. Like this is a Flow Rida beat, but like made by an underground guy. You know what I mean? Like I just think, I hate the way the snare sounds on this song, and like all the just the drum production in general is terrible. Like the sample's fine, but like and I think this is a fine song. Like the chorus is like very okay, and like a late period Eminem hook kind of way is the vibe I get from it. And so
so that's why they call it window pane?
That's why they call it window pane. Exactly. I empathize with Pitchfork, because it's like they were there early. I and most of the world doesn't really catch wind of Freddie Gibbs until Thuggin, and also until the couple of songs on the next, speaking of Grand Theft Auto, there are several songs from the next Freddie Gibbs album, I believe, that are in Grand Theft Auto soundtrack in one way or another, and there are just a lot of songs on that record that I really, really love. That one, what's it called? Babyface Killa in 2012 is like a great kind of up and coming, sort of very of the moment of 2012 rap album, where this song in particular sounds completely caught between eras of like 2000s kind of southern rap, Midwest rap, and like the more 2010s kind of early blog era. Like I think the next Freddie Gibbs album is way better than this, but I also listened around to some other songs on this record. The only song I would have picked instead of this one would be the Rock Bottom with Bun B. I think that's a better song, but that is because it is explicitly more of an old school sound. Like it's not trying to be forward thinking at all. Whereas that's kind of backwards looking, and this is trying to be current, but it's current in a very cheap, chintzy kind of way. And I think that Freddie Gibbs will make like dozens and oodles of better songs than this, and so it getting best new track feels kind of silly. But like, I also understand, given the context of when it was, why they want to put their weight behind this guy, because it's clear from the very beginning, guy can rap even before he really finds his voice as like a writer, and before he like just the breath control he has is fucking ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
Credit where it's due, Pitchfork was ahead of the curve on both knowing when he was going to go big and also knowing when he was absolutely going corny.
Yes, that's also true, but I also think that like
he's flanderized.
I liked the new album fine, and I do like I didn't like the last Madlib album, but I did like the Alchemist album quite a bit, and I think in general, I just wanted to give them credit for this, because especially when you right after like fucking Yeasayer song, right? Like, in terms of Pitchfork giving someone a best new track who is 10 years later having the most relevance they've ever had as a mainstream artist, like, it's not doing crazy streaming numbers, but like, it's his first major label album, this album that he put out this year, like this long into his career of kind of being like your favorite rapper's favorite rapper, or like your favorite rap forum person's favorite rapper. And like, I think it's cool that he has just steadily improved himself. I mean, not entirely. Like, I do think Pinata is still by far the best record he's made, but that's just like, that might be just like a perfect lightning in a bottle thing. And I'm kind of trying not to hold the rest of his career to that, because he is still a very good, entertaining rapper a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to our next song. Also, real quick, there's a song with Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys on this record.
Oh yeah,
what?
That I mean, that's just exactly like Freddie Gibbs had not found his voice and also his taste in people to assemble around him to help cultivate a milieu.
He's got Chuck English and Chip the Ripper. That's choices right there.
I as a noted person who says actually, I was so vindicated recently. I forget exactly when this was. I was giving Luke my Indicut is not a bad album actually speech. Guess what? Luke listened to Indicut. He was like, pretty good album. I was like, goddamn right it is. Like, I was so vindicated. Indicut has a couple of clunkers, but compared to the hit rate of like almost all Kid Cudi albums now that we have the 1,000 foot view, it's pretty good. Anyway,
but it was again. Anyways, yeah, let's move on to our next song, Heirloom by Sufjan Stevens. Was this a single? This seems like a strange like song to pick off this EP. But
yeah,
I haven't listened to this EP in a very long time.
There's so many better and flashier songs here, and this is the one that just kind of does nothing for most of its runtime.
Yeah,
it's just like a standard Sufjan folk track, and it's like, okay.
There's one song that's like more minimalist than this one, and yet feels like it does more. And just this entire EP is like something that should be like celebrated for its excess, not the one moment when it chooses to rein it in. Like,
well, I think that in context of that EP, it is very surprising in that regard, but it also makes perfect sense in that this is several years before Carissa and Lowell, or more specifically, like the music Carissa that he does for Call Me By Your Name. Like, I think this is late period Sufjan, and us hearing that for the first time. And I think for Pitchfork writers at the time, especially coming after the Age of Oz, it's like, ooh, wow, look at this like refined sort of tasteful, which I know Rose is like against your, I know Rose, it's like against your sensibilities to...
It's just like, I don't know. I'm so tired of Sufjan Stevens. Like, I've become tired of him as a musician. I don't know what happened, but I got kind of burned out on everything. I was just like,
was it when he said autogenophilia?
I mean, it was like that was the start of it.
It was happening before then. I mean, yeah.
I just got like more and more frustrated with his man. And I was just like, it's just something that really.
I think the thing is, it's just like I got out of my early 20s and just I kind of left Sufjan behind in my early 20s.
Yeah, like,
you know,
I've
that's
been
really about it.
As I were like fully fledging my way into a proper adulthood, like I don't know, the kind of adulthood where I'm like stable, I would maybe get it, but like right now I'm just like, man, this guy's like a little whiny. I'm like kind of tired of him.
I would say that I think part of that is being colored by it's two things. It's that the quality, I think, overall has gone down, but much more importantly, he's not laboring over every album, and like we've gotten so much Sufjan music.
Well, he's always been really prolific. It's just not in the mainline stuff, and you weren't as omnipresent of it because, like.
Yeah, I think it's some of it him becoming like a star belatedly in his career. You know what I mean? As he got canonized over time, but also like I don't know. I think that when I go back to those Sufjan records, especially recently, I've been finding that they still hit for me, and it's actually good for me to like get back in touch with what I liked about him, because it makes it way easier to be like, oh yeah, like that's why like the last Sufjan album, The Ascension, I like tried to be a defender of because there were a couple songs that were really working for me, but it's a record that has so much filler on it, arriving at the end of several years where he was just dumping filler on us, and it's like, really, like you gave us all that other sort of like noodly experimentation and just like Planetarium or whatever that fucking album was called. That was
that's
the real
one
moment.
where I can't forgive it, because like that one is just I find that one to be just like, people were like, oh, this is gonna be the best thing ever. Like,
well, because I think it was at the era that like Sufjan hype or like appreciation for those early records hit a certain critical mass.
And also Carrying Lowell just came out. He was on tour. Like, and I will say, Sufjan at Pitchfork Fest 2016, still one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
And I think that's honestly,
great show.
I saw him at Coachella on that same run. That is peak Sufjan in a lot of ways. Yeah. Like that is just the culmination of his critical acclaim, managing to cross him over into what is a shocking album to be as big of a crossover hit. We, as much as it is a boring and basic pick now, we need to take a step back and think about how weird it is that like every hip hop fan's token I don't just listen to hip hop records, one of them was Sufjan Stevens' Carrie and Lowell. And I know it's like a basic album by his standards, but we need to appreciate like the kind of people that like Carrie and Lowell, and like the fact that like Should Have Known Better and 4th of July and The Only Thing are songs that have 100 million Spotify streams. Like that is kind of weird for music that is still at its core like very personal, vulnerable music in that certain way. And I just think
if only the songs were good.
Yeah, no, he stopped making good songs. Like Carrie and Lowell has good songs still, and I think The Ascension has a couple of good, really just
oh no, I wasn't talking about The Ascension, I was talking about Carrie and Lowell.
Oh well, I think the songs are good on that record. I like Carrie and Lowell still.
I haven't listened to it in a while, but it's not my favorite Sufjan. I think there's better.
I'm getting this
there's
close
better
to
records,
being
but...
like Will Toledo was right. Will Toledo was right. I'm not afraid to say it anymore.
Yeah, he was, again. I completely understood. I completely understood I completely understood Will Toledo's comment when he said that. I was like, I get this. But let's move on to our final song of the evening. Written on the Forehead by PJ Harvey. I listened to some of the early PJ Harvey records last year, I think, and they're really good. What the fuck is this? This is terrible.
I know.
This,
I had the same reaction. Go ahead.
This is like one of the most like critically acclaimed records. This fucking sucks.
Yeah,
this
like
sucks
I've been listening to Dry and oh god, I'm so bad with titles right now. It's the one where she's like whipping her hair around.
Oh yeah, those records are both.
I Get Wet.
Yes, Rid of Me.
I Get Wet.
That was a joke, Rose. That was a joke.
Andrew WK.
I was making a joke. Rose. I was making a bit. I was doing a bit.
He's not whipping his hair around in that. Except
I Get Wet, and Rid of Me have some spiritual kinship.
Similar,
They're not the same, but
the vibes are very similar.
What
those album
is the
covers.
Steve Mike of PJ Harvey?
No, I agree. As someone who has only listened to the first, like, I've listened to Dry, Rid of Me, To Bring You My Love, and Stories from the City, and I'm like, okay, I really like this. I'm not quite all the way to, like, unlocking it. I've been meaning to finish the rest of that long Bandsplain episode they did on her, but as someone who has never listened to any of the post-2000 output, as someone who has not still touched anything that she's done in her kind of, like, post being a canonized important cultural musical figure, and now we're just going to pay attention to every album you do for the rest of your life territory. I'm shocked at this album. I don't know, I haven't listened to the album. I'm just like, what did I miss in the intervening time? Like, what did I miss between 2000? Like,
Gen X brain is real. I mean, at this time,
this isn't
late
even
millennial.
The worst. Remember, people have talked about how she made that horrible album about DC, about Washington.
Oh yeah,
DC,
yeah.
Completely insulting to the actual residents of the city.
Yeah, I think that in general with PJ Harvey, it's she's such a fascinating person to think about. That's the thing I took away from the first half of the Bandsplain episode I listened to, that episode's 8 hours long, so it's not unreasonable for me to not listen to the whole thing. But we
gotta make sure we gotta make you stop listening to that podcast, Jackie, because it gives you bad ideas.
No, it's
by bad ideas. It means it gives you bad ideas. I should make our podcast this long.
I think it's a cool idea. No, I'm just kidding. I think the way that they structure that show works because of this. A lot of that time.
No, I mean, I listen. The Weezer one is great. I mean, they do make the most out of the time.
And I break them up into chunks whenever I listen to them. I don't listen all at once. But the PJ episode, they talk a ton about her, and I'm like, as with the case with a lot of Bandsplain episodes, the Weezer episode being the great example. For a long time, I was lukewarm on to negative on 80 to 90% of Weezer's music, and I was like, I don't want to care about this band because their hit rate for me is so low, even though I do really like a lot of songs from them. But then after the Bandsplain episode, it's okay, I get being fascinated by Rivers Cuomo. I understand being invested in it, even if it is purely from a removed, I think this guy might be a sociopath kind of way. I really do find him to be a sympathetic, more so than I originally thought, figure, while also being a very just so idiosyncratic and weird, and it's so insane that because of the sequence of musical history, in almost any other literally any other decade, any other year besides the year, Rivers Cuomo was not meant to be here, even though he has a preternatural gift for songwriting, And yeah, I'm getting on a side tangent, but I think PJ Harvey, the episode similarly, fully sold me on why people spend so much time talking about her and thinking about her. The elements of influence that she came out of and what she synthesized them into and what topics she was able to write about early on in her career that were really game-changing. And when you become invested in an artist in that way, to that degree, as formationally as PJ Harvey, you then have an ability to view the late period of that artist's career in a completely different way, which is not as, do these albums work as standalone albums, but it's how is it interesting for PJ Harvey to be making this album? You know what I mean? If you covered the name of this and we were just this is a song that got Best New Track in 2012, you'd be well, this is fucking weird. What's going on here? You wouldn't know it's a PJ Harvey song at all based on all of the PJ Harvey music I've listened to. It's just very different. And if you're not approaching it as this is a grand departure and you're just approaching it as this is a song, how does it sound? It doesn't sound very good to me personally. This is just, and it seems like the kind of record that people hype up only as how does this fit into the constellation of this artist that I care about's work, whether you feel positively or, because I remember the reviews were positive, but some mixed reviews. Not everyone was on board with this record, as I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It was very critically acclaimed.
It was acclaimed for sure, but
there's probably some detractors.
But it's I'm just not allowed to shit talk for the rest of my life. I was a late period Mark Kozlek fan, right? You invest if you invest so deeply in not just an artist's music, but being fascinated with them as a figure within their art form as a whole, and the project that they are on as an artist, you then are able to just appreciate their music in a way that completely divorces you from whether it's good or not. Me listening to Pistol 100 times in a row. It's mm-hmm. I think that even though I very much respect the Harvey heads, and I love a lot of her music, the fucking Tom York collabs on that 2000 album, Stories from the Sea, divine, beautiful, all-time indie rock songs for me, partly because Tom York's on them, but mm-hmm. And I like some of the early, Dress is an incredible song. I really, really love that song from Dry, but I don't know what the fuck this is British is what it screams to me. There's a lot of British bullshit going on in this song, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, let's go in the opposite direction of British bullshit. Of course, that's it for our 2010s cuts. But this podcast, it's right now the recording is only 1 hour 13 minutes, and if we've got an opportunity, that feels short for us. And also I feel like after 9 pretty middling songs altogether, in my opinion, we got to listen to something really good. And this is our break glass in case of emergency artist. This is we're gonna talk some RXK Nephew. We're gonna talk about one of our favorite RXK Nephew songs of the year.
I would say, is this our number one Nephew song of the year?
We'd have to do a poll, but it's certainly up there.
It's probably my favorite of this year.
Yeah, but this one, it is RXK Nephew, Saoirse Ronan. It's Rose has already left. Rose did not want us to talk about this song, but
Baby talking about she don't want boyfriend. She want a rich nigga like Saoirse Ronan. Nephew might be, yes I'm rolling. Back to the future, she like where you going? Irish bitch better than Saoirse Ronan. A Mary shirt bitch, that's the shirt I'm going with. I ain't got
what's
no
this
time
kind of
for
like
a
genre
gold
of rap
digging
music
bitch.
called? Like this kind of beat?
Was it just
I ain't saying she a gold digger.
it's a more tasteful of the kind of like very late 2000s house influenced pop music that like, but it's less overproduced. Like it's way more laid back.
Yeah.
But like this like synth line is very like give me everything tonight. Like I don't want to rap. I don't want to talk over this. Like I don't want to stop our audience from being able to hear Nephew.
Yeah, we just missed a great RSK Nephew delivery. Hang on. Oh. God damn it, Mike. I love the way he says grilled cheese. It's
when missionary man hit her with the cry baby. When I was broke, I ain't cry about it. Bitch trying to line it up and lie about it. Auntie try to boost your head, she could die about it. Don't listen to your friends when they say I ain't shit. Fuck your brother, he broke as a bitch. Your uncle wants something too, never check his chin. Invite me over to the crib,
God, he just has one of the best rap voices right now.
Absolutely.
I can't even pronounce the rotisserie, bitch taste bub pop. When I'm flicking my wrist, it's not plain Jane. Bitch, this top shelf, not Mary Jane. My bitch better than Zoe 101.
Yeah.
My bitch better than Hillary Duff. My bitch better than Ashley Tisdale. I got
The way he's saying bitch batter.
My bitch better than Ariana Grande.
The rolling R's.
My bitch better than Brenda Song. My bitch better than Jamie Chung. Try to like my bitch out like Brittany Griner. I'll break my bitch out if she was Brittany Griner. When they see my bitch, they like, damn, you ain't lying.
That's maybe the funniest line in the song.
Call me nephew Rodrigo. I'm wavier than a nigga named Raymundo. Fuck more hoes than a nigga named Tito. Got more flannels than a nigga named Debo. Through thuff, don't slither, man, Chiquito. She talking about marriage, but she want my money. She was bad before that, now she Whoopi Goldberg. Bitch look like Sophia in color purple. Drink Henny till my liver turn purple. I'ma tell you, bitch, better than Saoirse Ronan. Do what the Romans do, bitch, we gon' eat ramen noodles. Take my shirt off, rub my stomach.
I wonder if Saoirse Ronan has heard this, is my question.
I really hope someone showed her this. I really hope. But also, I feel like she'd be like horrified. She'd probably be horrified.
I would think this is sick, but I'm not Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah. Like it could be worse. It could be a lot worse.
It's
there's definitely worse.
As far as celebrities that RXK Nephew has brought up by name in a song, this is about the most respectful he's ever been to a person. Yeah. I would say. Like yes. I don't think he has ever talked about someone without like doing something that would offend them in one way or another. The way, Matty, is Rose still going? Okay, can we really quickly listen to Forever 21?
Yeah.
All right, this will be the way we send ourselves out in the episode.
Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next week to go over. Hang on.
Every time I'm in Charlotte, I feel like the baby.
I got good perk licks, look like Slim Shady. They did all that hating, I was down and didn't face. Same light skin pretty bitch that used to play. Now she fat on Facebook with 3 babies. First class got a thick and I played for the Ravens. I would turn to Ray Rice like I played for the Ravens. Light skin bitch got green eyes thinking she Ravens.
I've not heard this one yet, so.
I've been selling crack since I broke out of North Haven.
Wait, we need to wait for you to get to the hook.
I'm bumping Max B, she like, what is you playing? Bitch, my bean wall, bitch, what is you making? Money rag on my head like assalamu alaikum. Ain't no way I'ma believe him, I know he faking. Auntie hot, dirty whining like she Jamaican. I'm the real deal, kind bitch, ain't no mistaking. Bitch thinks she Billie Jean, keep calling my phone. I'm on Twitch in the booth, bitch, leave me alone. I got 10,000 on me, bitch, leave me alone. She like book the next flight, nephew need to be home. I'm like, bitch, I'm for the street, I ain't got no home. Bitch, I pull up drunker than Post Malone. Plus, I got another show, they be coast to coast. I got bitches on my dick, let's make a toast. She like, Nev, calm down, why you turned up? I'm like, that ain't my baby, bitch, burn it up. I mean to change the subject, but I'm fresh as fuck. I got a cash app for you if you let me fuck. I left her brother hanging, I ain't dapping up. Couple pounds in the mail, bitch, I'm about to sack it up. She like, how many apes is you about to make? I'm like, bitch, how many faces you about to make? I walked in, I got a burner. Tell a jack boy, big baby, not the one. With the two-tone glass, my sleep check the mail like blue. I'm not a rapper, I do not mean to confuse you. I'm telling you fast, I do not mean to lose you.
You think he's not gonna go for it, or he's gonna do it lazily? You're not prepared.
I met a mama, all I said was, met an uncle like I got betas for you. I got 2.5 skaters for you. Talk bad about me, that's what the haters do. Chain fake weird, bitch, is my Audi fake too? You think I'm fake, my money in my house too? If that's the case, bitch, then you need to be fake. How the fuck you a real bitch when your ass fake? How the fuck your titties soft but your ass ain't? My side bitch booty look like beef patty cake. Bitch got a BBL, she stands for kids. Fucked out so much, the bitch losing her head. I'ma go break the bank and then do it again. I fucked the bitch once, then do it again. Met a bitch on the ground, then I flew the bitch in. Hope the ass to fly home and never do it again. They see me hit the cup, I'm on the boot again. Just spent 450 on some shoes again. Got a bitch from New York, she love ketamine. Whole apartment booted up like element.
So he's like in our MC right on the ad libs.
I'll buy some scrubs for you. Kick a bitch out the crib, I will punt on you. I let a bitch ball out of Forever 21. Bitch 35 thinking she Forever 21. All the bitch too thick can't shop at Forever 21. Niggas hang off my ass like I'm Forever 21. You gotta go to Plus. Sport Plus. My bitch thinking shit.
Come on.
He doesn't do it again.
Do it again. Do the hook again, RXK. Come on.
You're not prepared for him to sing bitch Neff number 1 or whatever. Oh, I can't even remember what he says because it's too beautiful. I love this one so much. When he does the big ball, we missed that part because we were laughing so hard from the chorus still.
Okay, that's it.
We can't watch anymore. Matty and I will probably watch 1 or 2 more after this, but we're going to end the podcast here. I'm glad we got to capture Matty listening to that hook for the first time on this podcast. That's a really great RXK Nephew song. All of the YouTube stuff, once again, a lot of it is better than the although I think the new mixtape is supposed to be good. I haven't listened yet.
Yeah. That's it. Bestie Pod. We'll be doing the 2011 cuts next week, and then the 2012 cuts after that, and then as a bonus episode, we'll be going over Jackie's should have been best new tracks.
Woo!
As she'll be going over one track a year from 2010 to 2019. As will me and Rose, as we kind of keep going on throughout the series. So I think I might be, after we finish our 2013-2015 series or season, I think I'm next. I'm not sure if me and Rose, I offer to go last, but maybe I think me and Rose might switch places. Anyways, that's like a year from now probably. But yeah, we've got three episodes of Best New Pod lined, 3 more episodes lined up, going over our cuts and our should have beens. And then again, Best New Pod. I'm not sure when it'll probably be back in the late spring, early summer once we wrap up our upcoming podcast series that we have not announced yet, but it is very exciting. I'm very excited to announce it once we get some of the more details together for it. But yeah, like again, I'll let Jackie, just without saying anything about what our next series is. How excited for our next series are you?
I'm very excited. It's definitely the most back to basics we've gotten since the 90s rock number ones, and we also have already some really, really great guests that we're lining up for that as we continue to expand out. And there's a lot of good stuff. I have so many episodes that I've been wanting to do for like several months that we've just sort of put down but we have the playlist submissions, which from our lovely listeners, which we love, but also like all of the various series we've been doing, Best New Pod and this upcoming series that we have. But the combination of this upcoming series and also like several one-off episodes that are at some stage of in the works or coming at the end of this year. I am so excited. Folks, if you're listening at home, it's November 21st. We are less than a month away from club songs to suck and fuck to. I'm gonna make this runway as long as possible as to make this as awkward as possible. But I actually tell you, Matty, you were in for a treat when you listen to that playlist and the episodes, because it is. It is actually.
Should I listen to that in advance, or should I listen to those songs live?
No, you can listen. You should listen to it in advance. Honestly,
Okay.
like spending some time meditating on it will be, because it is not punishing like the porno songs episode. It is adjacent,
Yeah.
but it is different, and so we will get into that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. We'll see you all next week for another episode of Best New Pod. And again, we got more content on the way for y'all as we've got a very busy rest of the year planned. So yeah. Bye, everybody.